All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Good News in Parks. I'm Anne Marie Spencer, and together with my amazing co-host, Jody Adams, we are thrilled to bring you this show about partnerships. Parks continue to grow in importance, and we know that more people see parks as essential services and places to promote overall community vitality and positive changes in neighborhoods than ever. Public-private partnerships aren't new, but they're certainly growing and generating excitement and interest. Park partnerships are successfully combining assets of public and private sectors in new and novel ways to create new parks, refurbished parks, programming, and lots of other community assets in our cities. So our panel today is no stranger to partnerships, and they are here to share insight and inspire us with their knowledge. Jody is going to introduce them to us and share some national news. So take it away, Jody.
All right. Good day, everyone. Here we go. Jennifer Cirillo, Director, Palm Beach County, Florida, Parks and Recreation Department. She is a certified Parks and Recreation executive. Before joining Palm Beach County, she also held leadership positions in nonprofit and private industry. She is the past president of Florida Parks and Recreation Association, and she is also served as a national judge for the prestigious Gold Medal Awards program that we're going to talk about later with Jane Adams. And then also we're excited to have Chris Cotten. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Jody.
Director of Kansas City, Missouri Parks and Recreation Department. He is a certified Parks and Recreation professional. He has served as lead administrator for Salina, Kansas, Joplin, Missouri, Normal, Illinois, and Harrisonville, Missouri. Parks and Recreation departments. He led the disaster recovery and rebuilding of the city of Joplin, Missouri, and its Parks and Recreation department after a tornado destroyed 35% of the city. We remember it well, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. Donnie Hayes II, Director, Fairbanks North Star Borough, Alaska, Parks and Recreation Department. He's a certified Parks and Recreation executive. He has served in leadership roles in Petersburg boroughs, Alaska, Washington, Utah, and Rexburg, Idaho. He is the past president of Alaska Recreation and Park Association and is a current chair of the NRPA Awards and Scholarship Committee. Welcome to the show, Donnie. All right. And our special guest, we all know Jane Adams. Jane Adams is Executive Director of the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration. She's also a fellow member of this organization, retired Executive Director of California Parks and Recreation Society, and also founder of Jane Adams Consulting. She consults with nonprofits and associations on board governance and strategic planning, one of the best. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you, Jody.
All right, let's get into some good news, national news, real quick. I've got one item I really want to talk to you about, and don't hesitate to think you can't do this. NRPA has opened the proposals for the 2023 conference in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be October 10th through the 12th. I hope you as professionals will consider putting in a proposal. There are 3 types of proposals to put in to be a speaker at the conference. One is an education session, 60 minutes, really focusing on different aspects of the field. Number 2 is research sessions. These are looked at by your peers and decided to present these papers and posters. And then also a speed session. And that will be 20-minute speed sessions. And I hope you'll take us up on really putting in a proposal. Just talk to the staff at NRPA. Yes, you go up through quite a litmus test of professionals, but you never know when your career as a speaker could start right there at NRPA. The deadline for that will be December 4th at midnight. So you've got 2.5 weeks, no excuses, put it in. All right. So folks, this is what we've been waiting for. These are the professionals that are living it every day, and we're here with their authentic selves. Question number 1. During our professional careers, we have so many occurrences that impact and inspire us. talk about 2 to 3 agency community partnerships over your career that you feel really impacted the said community long-term and was inspiring to you and others. And Jennifer, you've done such a great job over the years. Let's start with you.
Thanks, Jody. First, thanks for the opportunity to represent our fantastic team here in Palm Beach County. And one of the things our team does really well is creative partnerships. So I think it's very appropriate that we're talking about that today. Our community has like 1.5 million people. It's very, very diverse. It's not the stereotype, some of it is, but not all of the stereotype you think of as Palm Beach, right? So Palm Beach County has a rural element. We're the largest agricultural county east of the Mississippi. And so we have a rural area of our county near Lake Okeechobee called the Glades. And per capita, it's an under-resourced community, but per capita, they have more NFL players coming out of that area than anywhere in the country. And so we had it's a fairly recent partnership, but it was a really creative and inspiring, where the Miami Dolphins, the Orange Bowl committee, as well as a local health foundation, decided to support renovating our park and created an Orange Bowl field. It's an artificial turf field using a cool play technology because it gets very swampy down here in South Florida, and a new playground for the community, and just a wonderful partnership that was celebrated by everybody and recognized and brought the community together. So that's one I want to talk about real quick. But then you switch to our beaches, right? So that was kind of a glamorous, very beautiful project. Our beaches, plastics washing on shore is a huge issue for us as a community. Not just trash and litter people leave, but it's literally coming at us from the ocean. It's in the water we drink now. Plastics and styrofoam pieces are a huge issue. So there's a homegrown, it's called Beach Bucket Foundation, beachbucketfoundation.org if you want to learn more. There was a gentleman that just took this to heart and said, I need to do something more than just walking the beaches and cleaning up. So our aquatics director worked with him to develop a weather kind of resistant place where people can borrow a bucket, go pick up and clean up the beach, bring it back and dump it, return their bucket. It has sponsors that fully fund the program. We piloted it for a few months and said, hey, this is working. People are bringing the buckets back. We were kind of afraid they just take them, but it worked, and now it's rolled out not just to us, but many of our municipalities in South Florida. And I encourage you to consider something. Any community can use that kind of help and that creativity, and that's a really homegrown partnership. And then lastly, culture is very important, and in South Florida, we have a number of cultural influences. But we actually had a Japanese farming community here in Palm Beach County, and George Murakami donated the land to our department back in the 80s. And we have a world-class Japanese museum and gardens that is part of our county park system. It's just a gem and a jewel. And we are lucky enough to work with a Friends of that has now a $6 million endowment that helps us run that really as a 60 county, 40 them partnership to just remember our Japanese culture and heritage locally, but also move that entire initiative forward for our department. And we couldn't do it without our partners. Annual report we produce yearly. I counted this year, our last annual report, we had 533 partners listed. So that's those are just 3 that we're spotlighting, but it's really important. We couldn't do what we do without it. And I'm sure many of the folks on this call couldn't do it without them.
Well, Jennifer, I can't wait. We've got some great, excellent questions that are going to address how do you do all this? Because that is pretty overwhelming what you're talking about. Over 500. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. Great example.
Really, really great team. That's how we do it.
Oh, yes. No kidding. Okay, Chris, join in, please.
Yeah, so I've been here exactly a year as of Monday. So I've been back at Kansas City for a year. So one of the facilities that I noticed that was underutilized, we have an old equestrian arena that was shut down. And with the World Cup, with us being a World Cup city, we were trying to figure out a way to bring soccer training for the kids in need that can't afford or don't have the means to play at a high club level. So we partnered with a local soccer academy called Raguku Soccer Academy. And as part of their lease of the facility, they're going to offer free or reduced training 3 times a week to local kids in the community. So we took the horse ring and we put AstroTurf in. It's a wonderful facility. I've been showing it off to some people. So we're real excited as a World Cup city to be able to host this and help these kids get the training advantage they need, to whether it's they make their JV soccer team or they go from JV to varsity, or maybe some of these kids will get scouted by College Scout at their high school games. But either way, it gives these kids an opportunity to do something constructive and to work on their technical skills. Another thing that we worked on when I was in Salina is we worked with the Salina Tennis Alliance to develop a new tennis complex. City of Salina didn't have the funding to repair all of our tennis courts, so we partnered with this group. The cost of the city of Salina was roughly $700,000. The private group picked up the other $4 million for this new tennis complex. So again, you just have to think outside the box and find new means for partnerships when you don't necessarily have the funding to attack some of these issues. And then the last partnership I want to talk about might have to do with a certain somebody hosting this conversation that might have been in Springfield, Missouri at the time of the Joplin tornado. So when I was in Joplin, we didn't have the funding. We didn't have our own planning team. We didn't have our own engineering team. So within, I think, a day of the disaster, the then Parks Director of Springfield, Missouri reached out to me and basically let me know that whatever resources I needed from her department to help me with the process were at my disposal. So Jody, so thank you so much, because if it wouldn't have been for your kindness, we definitely would have stayed behind the 8 ball for a long time in Joplin. So I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, Chris, from the heart, there's no question. We all of us on this Zoom today, we are family, and you rise to the occasion to do things like that. It's not even a question, but a great examples. So excited about your soccer endeavor. Oh my gosh, that's great. And of course, we've been involved in tennis over the years. Great examples. Donnie, wrap us up on this one.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. Sometimes I feel like the small man in the group. Here in Alaska, our communities cover a lot of space. Our borough, which is kind of like a county, our borough covers the size of Rhode Island, but only has 100,000 people in the whole entire borough. And so for us, we manage 55 parks, 3 aquatic centers, multiple ice rinks, indoor and outdoor. We have 2 lakes that we manage. So we have a lot of property spread out over all of this land. And we want to be able to make sure that everybody has opportunities. So partnerships for us are critical. And we live and breathe partnerships in our community, because that's how we all survive. That's how we all make our lives just a little bit better. So a couple of the ones that I just wanted to highlight for us have been really important to our community over the last few years. One of those is a group that actually comes from the lower 48. So the 48 states below us. And that's a group called the Next Step Ministries, and they actually do traveling service missions. And so they approached our department a couple of years ago about coming to our community and bringing these missionaries to do actual maintenance work on some of our facilities. Wow. And so we partner with them on construction projects, ADA ramps. They built us a disc golf course last summer. They're helping us to reconstruct one of our historical cabins this coming summer. But they provide a lot of the people, the design, and really the day-to-day efforts to make some of these things happen. And so there's a lot of work that's happening that we couldn't do ourselves, but with their partnership, we're able to really maintain some of the facilities that we couldn't in the past. Another one I want to talk to you guys about is a group called Access Alaska. Their mission is to help seniors and those with disabilities live independently in their community. And so annually, we partner with this organization to put on what we call Halloween Town, which is typically about 8,000 people that come to one of our historical parks. And we hand out candy at all of our historical cabins. We do events. We have a pumpkin catapult. We've got food trucks, but it's a fundraiser for both of our organizations. And so we raise funds for Access Alaska to be able to provide services to our community. And then we also raise funds for an all accessible playground that's going to be built at our park. And so it'll be one of the largest playgrounds that we'll have in our whole entire borough. And so typically that event raises about $20,000 annually for these types of services. And so that type of a partnership really goes a long way to be able to address the needs that we have in our community. The last one is that because we're in Alaska, because we're in Fairbanks, during the wintertime, our winters are dark and they're cold.
Yeah.
And we're constantly looking for things to do to keep the excitement, to make sure that our community is well taken care of. And so we partner at our ice rinks with a semi-pro group and then also a Division I hockey program. So the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and then we also have a semi-hockey group, the Fairbanks Ice Dogs, that both of those have their games at our facilities. We partner with them to provide those opportunities for the community to be able to enjoy a game. But secondarily, those events also support lots of nonprofits. We have our Hockey Club Fairbanks group that during those games, they sell 50-50 raffle tickets. And that helps to support those youth hockey programs. And so without organizations like that doing those types of events, it has a real huge trickle down effect that really supports all of our community. So these are just some of the partnerships that we do, but it really is an integral part of us providing service to our community. And so we're really thankful for all the partners that we have.
Well, colleagues, you nailed it. Folks, you have 9 great examples of partnerships right here. So again, stay tuned because we'll also talk a little bit more. How do they administer this? I'm going to turn it over to you now, Anne-Marie. We've got our first poll question. Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
I was the one with the barking dog in the background, so now I'm the one that didn't come off of mute. Has to be something, right? We'd love to know what's going on in our audience. So we'd love to take your pulse on partnerships and how many you have going on in your community. So here's what we want to know. Do you currently engage in public and or private partnerships to promote and grow initiatives? And if so, how many? Is it 1 to 5, 6 to 15? 16 to 26 or more than 26. And if you want to, especially if you're in that more than 26 group, if you would like to put in the chat, how many partnerships do you have going? We know you may not know exactly how many, but if you can ballpark it, just to kind of get an idea and get a feel for what's going on. I think everybody has partnerships in some way or another. I mean, like our panel has said today, it's how you get things done. And sometimes if you can find somebody that, has all of those things that you want to do and they've already got that in place and you can create a mutual beneficial relationship, then why not? It's great. Okay, so it looks like just about everybody has voted. 1 or 2 more. We're going to close this poll in 3, 2, 1. And let's share the results with everybody. Looks like most of the group, 44%, are in that 1 to 5 group. 29% of you have more than 26. That's great. And then 6 to 15 and 16 to 26, 20 and 7%. So lots of partnerships going on out there. And thanks so much for taking part. We'll have another poll for you a little bit later. And Jody, I'm going to turn it back to you for our second question for our panelists.
All right. So let's continue on. How do you and your agencies decide what type of partnership document do you create in formatting and working with relationships and an organization, group, or company? So we have several ways to go at this. And Chris, I'm going to lead off with you.
Yeah, so we have several different methods in this agency. We have MOUs, we have formal agreements, we have resolutions, we have cooperative agreements. And one of the things that we've kind of noticed with the staff is that they're all over the board. So we're working really hard right now to actually streamline those. We have some cooperative agreements and MOUs that haven't been followed up on in years. And so,
Wow.
so we're a big agency, and so we've gone through a lot of changes here. So we're really trying to streamline that right now, specifically to even who's going to follow up on those agreements, one point person to follow up on them, because we have so many. So that's a work in progress for us. I've been in cities where everything went through the city council, where they've gone through the park board, some where the director was up to the decision. But what we're trying to do is run all of ours, for the most part, through the park board, so they're aware of what we're doing.
Chris, thanks for being so upfront about that, because I think some people think everything's rosy. It's not. And you really have to stay up with those. And that's why we do this show. It's to the point and where you are at this point. Really appreciate that. You are a huge agency and you do have an extreme amount of partnerships. Donnie, follow up on that.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of the similar types of documents that we do: MOAs, leases, use contracts. One of the pieces of information that we do a little bit differently in some instances, when we have a volunteer group, like it's a church agency or something like that, that comes to us and they just want to go, and as an organization want to go plant flowers for us. We actually have a volunteer group policy in our borough. And so that comes also with a contract. And so all the volunteers put their name on the list, and that contract just kind of lays out the expectations for that volunteer group. So that's one different form that we use. But we really look at all these different types of documents and which one's going to be a use contract versus a lease, or which one's going to be an MOA versus the volunteer group contract. And we're still trying to work those things out, because new partnerships pop up all the time. And then you're like trying to pigeonhole that group, but it doesn't really fit. And so right now we're really coming up with a real good game plan on, for example, how do we partner with the Rotary Club on a construction of a playground? And so here's a volunteer group, but they are paying for the playground and the construction of the playground. And so, things that we're looking at are, okay, how do we address that it's going to be gifted to the borough? So does that go through the assembly? Does it go through our Parks and Recreation Commission? How do we deal with prevailing wages, Davis-Bacon? What are the qualifiers that this project have to go through that? Does this meet the borough's procurement policies? So there's really a lot of questions that are constantly having to be worked out, sometimes on a daily basis for these types of programs and the contracts. But really, it's all about being flexible, working with those organizations because they want to work with you. And so as long as we can work with them, be upfront with them, tell them what we're trying to accomplish, and they're able to understand that, we're able to have a really good partnership moving forward.
Folks, if you hear MOU, that is Memorandum of Understanding. So we're working through those, but those are great types of agreements or ways to put a partnership in form. Thank you so much, Donnie. Jennifer, close us out on this one.
So I think both Donnie and Chris had some great points. Each of us have different lawyers that work with our agencies, and they all have their own opinions on what types of documents we should have in place. And for us here in Palm Beach County, anything that looks like or smells even close to an agreement, like it's gonna, an MOU is, they're like, it's an agreement, it's got to go to our board. But the one thing we've done really successfully is get delegated authority for certain types of things. So as the director, I have delegated authority to sign permits for all sorts of various things, from archaeological and scientific research permits that happen in our park. We have a fee waiver policy, and in that fee waiver policy, there's got to be certain criteria met. One of the criteria is a partner group, say the Sierra Club wants to meet and get free rental space at our nature center. That's wonderful, but the only way that we're going to be able to waive it is if they give us something in return. And it could just be in service. It could be time that they spend in our park doing something for us. It could be an education session they provide now. Our partners providing a nature center education session for us. And then we waive their rental fee for the room that they have their meeting in. So I think there's ways to get delegated authority to the director through your approval processes that help you be a little more flexible with all the bureaucracy and legalese that we kind of face day to day. Not so much flexibility when it comes to leases and mutual use agreements and all that sort of thing. But I would also say, Chris mentioned it a little bit as well, that tracking is really important. I think as a huge agency, we continue to, fine tune that. And our leases, for example, we have someone getting ready to retire very soon that kind of just knows a lot of that. And so, planning for the succession of that and those tracking mechanisms and almost like a continuity of operations in an emergency, like if that person leaves, now who's tracking it, So I think that we need to be mindful of that as you move through this process and where you're going to put these different types of agreements or permits to make sure that someone has a sense and an eyeball on what's happening. And if you as an agency are following through on your commitment, but also your partners following through on their commitment.
Well, and also, you nailed something, really, delegated authority. Obviously you hope that you've hired the best professionals in those roles, whether you're a park board or you're the board that oversees that executive, or even if you're the executive and who you're overseeing as a staff, you hope you can delegate some of that authority, especially in large agencies like some of you have. So I hope you'll really look at that. We were very fortunate at Springfield Greene County when I was working there that they had delegated quite a bit of authority to the directors and to the director and the deputy directors. So that really helps when you are looking at administering these agreements. And then finally, I want to move into this next poll real quick, but let's be talking about too, who are those right people to talk about looking at those agreements and following up. So let me turn over the poll to you, Anne-Marie. Let's go into that one.
Okay, that sounds good. So for the next one, we want to know from our audience, what has been your most successful partnership type? Is it a general fund type of a partnership? Is it in programming, shared use, maybe with a school or another facility, in asset development, a restoration project, conservation, maybe it's land acquisition, equity development, or something else? And this is one of those questions where our something else answer really comes into play, because you've heard it here. There are dozens and dozens of types of partnerships that you can engage in. And so, if it's something that isn't listed here, we would love to hear from you, because it's one thing that we do here at Good News in Parks is share ideas with one another. So if you've had a successful partnership in a different type of an area, please just click that something else and just put it in our chat box so we can share that, or our question and answer box. And we'll share that with the rest of the audience here today. Okay, there's a clear favorite here. Can anybody guess what that clear favorite might be?
Programming.
Something else?
I know it's kind of a trick question, right? But yeah, that programming, you guys, everyone's still voting. I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds here, guys, but programming, wow. Huge amount of folks out there are doing programming partnerships. So that might be something, Jody, if we have some extra time to talk a little bit about as well, maybe what types of programming you're doing. All right, let's end this poll. We're going to share these results with you. And programming, 70% of you do programming. That is so awesome. The next most popular one is shared use with 30% of the audience, general funding with 16%, some with land acquisition, and 7% of you with something else. We'd love to hear what that something else is. So put that in the Q&A box and share that with us. Very interesting, Jody.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. Programming, big deal. It's awesome. All right, we'll turn it back to you and let's ask our next question.
Okay, we have question number 3 for you all. The bottom line is we've been talking about aspects of the agreement. We've talked about, again, how do you decide, but who develops and writes your partnership agreements? We talked just briefly about it. Do you have a partnership or engagement staff person and position? And we just touched on it, but here's part two. Who is responsible for monitoring the agency partnerships? And do you have a standard evaluation system you can share with our audience that you would use? And if you don't totally have it developed, what do you think it needs to look like? So Donnie, I'm going to start with you on this question. So lead us off.
So in our department, we have 3 superintendents that manage basically our 3 different areas. So we've got our recreation superintendent, our parks maintenance superintendent, and then what we call our Riverside superintendent. And that person really focuses more on our events and our tourism facilities. And so the 3 of them are really the keys to overseeing these partnerships, and of course in each of their divisions. And so they're the ones that work with our admins, make sure that those are appropriate. We also have our processes where, of course, any of our MOAs, leases, things like that go through our legal department. We also have a risk department. So those folks help us to craft these contracts. And so really it comes down to, does this fall under recreation? Does this fall under tourism? Or does this fall under parks maintenance? And so each one of those superintendents all do a really fantastic job of trying to be in contact with those partners as often as they possibly can. And so for us, I would love to say that we have this great little form that we fill out and we evaluate exactly what they're doing or how they're doing. But really, it's pretty simple. Like the borough's mission is simple. It's 3 words: serve, lead, thrive. And so for us, if those partnerships are helping us to serve the community, are helping us to lead the community, or helping us to thrive in the community, then that's a good partnership. And so, of course, there's all kinds of ways that we can evaluate that. But it doesn't have to be difficult. If the community is supported and the community is happy and we're providing a benefit to them, then that's really what this is all about. And so I would just really tell folks, don't go crazy. We don't have to create additional work for ourselves, but at the same time, be in contact. That's what we do as Parks and Rec professionals. We're really good at being in contact with people, creating partnerships, and also creating friendships. And a lot of these partnerships, that's exactly what this becomes, is a friendship, people that we want to see on the street and we want to wave to. And so creating that partnership is always integral to the end result of the mission that we're trying to accomplish.
Excellent. Thank you. Great information. Jennifer?
Wow, Donnie, that's inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think that's really the key. And I do think it's becoming more challenging for us, kind of coming out of this pandemic era where everybody does value parks, but there's also like this groundswell of entrepreneurship going on, I feel. And it is wonderful, but it also presents some challenges for us because we have people, ringing our phone every single day with what they think is the best idea ever. And we're like, okay, but that's not really in our mission, And so learning how to say no to that, I think is something that we need to develop as well and be able to have that great mission and, the set of what our core services are so we can really respond well to that and why we may not take on that partnership, right? Because sometimes, it's great to partner,
That's
but
right.
you also have to say no sometimes, which is that's the tough thing to do because it may be a very wonderful idea. It's just not the right fit for our agency for whatever the reason is. So, we do, like Donnie, have a number of staff that handle, and it depends on what it is. So leases in, leases out, leases definitely are under our property and research development division. Recreation is a little more, the programming, we have a rec services, but I want to spotlight one position in particular. So we have a manager of support services, and they're in a division that we call special facilities. So kind of all of these out of the, proverbial past box, but maybe more, I guess, in the box now than ever for recreation. We have a number of really creative user groups that are into what we might consider alternative type sports, but also some groups that are concessionaires for us. So we have a wakeboard concessionaire that's doing a phase 2 for a ropes course, like those types of things. These are the most time consuming. Anybody who has a really, really specialized interest like RC airplanes or, our groups that are into competitive archery, those types of things. And we have agreements with them. Pétanque, which is like the French form of bocce. So we have groups that love our park system and they're wonderful partners, but they're extremely time consuming. So we have a gentleman named Kirk Brooks. It's our manager of support services. And Kirk spends a lot of his time on the phone, kind of talking these people off the ledge sometimes, like, the pétanque court got sand in it or whatever the issue is. So I just would be mindful of that too, as you're dividing up work for partnerships. Just be mindful of which partnerships may be a little easier to manage and which partnerships are sometimes really challenging.
I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a guidance down the road. And Chris, I'd like you to chime in on this now. And let's see if this comes up. Chris, it's all yours.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of holes in our staff right now. We have a lot of openings, and this very subject is something that we were glaringly deficient in when I got here. We had agreements that were in place that nobody knew the terms, nobody was managing them. And as we started to weigh into our finances, I started to review our budget. It became pretty apparent to me pretty quick that there was a lot of revenue that wasn't coming in because Recreation Services would execute the agreement, but then nobody in finance was tracking it. So we've been working really hard to pull that in. We do have some groups that feel very entitled to our facilities. And while they are providing a service, they aren't necessarily cognizant of what it costs us to keep those facilities ready for them. And they fight us every step of the way. So we've been raising fees in the last year for the use of our facilities. And there's a pretty big pushback on that right now. But the cost of doing business for us is going up as well. So some of this stuff that we're working on, and that goes back to standardizing the form so everybody knows what to look for, because again, we have so many different forms and so many different agreements that there isn't a standardized process. So the left hand and the right hand didn't necessarily know who was doing what. And so we're really working to make it easy for everybody to do that. And so as we reshuffle our staffing, as we make some changes, that this very thing we're talking about is actually at the top of my list to get straightened out, because we are a huge agency and we have a lot of things that we need to address.
Well, I think it's great because you just said it. It's probably partnerships in our departments are probably one of the most number one things we ought to be focusing on at all times. They, in many cases in departments, it makes or breaks the department. And it's so great to have people engaged. I mean, not just in your programs and everything, but as partners to develop. And sometimes your partners, I think we'll all agree, know more than we know, and we need them and to keep us fresh. One little additive I might add to this is from experience. You might look at using SWOT methods, colleagues, to start looking at your partnerships. Look at those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats with your partnerships. If you're analyzing them, I used to do that as a litmus test to look at those partnerships. And when I would start moving through the food chain and was exposed to different levels of partnerships, that really helped me look through them and us make some very wise decisions. Were they valid? Where are we at? Where can we improve? And what are we missing all as a group with our fellow citizens or groups out there? So again, it would be a SWOT method analysis of looking at strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. It sounds more advanced than it really is, but it will give you a real bullseye picture of where you're at with those groups. All right, let's go ahead. Let's look at, I want to go ahead and Jane, I think it's time for the gold medal. This was the second aspect that we really wanted to talk about during this show, because right now is the time. If you're interested, and do not think, Jane, how many times have we talked about this? And boy, I know that Jennifer could chime in on this as a past judge. Many times people do not apply. And the bottom line is they are so ready for this. So again, finalists, if you make those final four, they're as important as receiving that gold medal. I know that's hard to hear. I just presented one in Dickinson, North Dakota. They are just as important. But Jane, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Jody, and good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here this morning to talk just briefly about the National Gold Medal Award Program, which is the premier award for parks and recreation agencies, armed forces, recreation installation programs, as well as our state park systems. And so I want to just talk a little bit about the program, and then we have our new video that we're going to be showing to you as well. So the National Gold Medal Award Program began in 1965 with a partnership between the National Recreation and Park Association and the National Sporting Goods Foundation. And the Academy got involved in probably around 2010, 2011. And then the Academy, the American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration, became the governing body and the administrative body of the National Gold Medal Award Program in 2015. We certainly partner with the National Recreation Park Association, as well as our corporate sponsor, Musco Lighting, to present this program to you. There is no fee. Let me say that again. There is no fee for your agency to enter the National Gold Medal Award Program. And it's also equally important that the Gold Medal Award Program is not, again, not about that shiny facility, that shiny new aquatic center, that shiny new sports complex, soccer field, trail. Is not about that. This award seeks to identify the best managed park and recreation systems in the United States. And by best managed, we mean, how are you using whatever the resources that you have? How are you using them to effectively meet the needs of your community? So I know we often get hung up on, well, look, of course they won because they've got this brand new facility that really has absolutely nothing to do with this award. So the award is about, again, showcasing the impact that your agency is having on its community and how you're using your resources. And we've been talking a lot already this morning about the most important resources, expanding partnerships. So we do have a question on the application about, tell us about your partnerships. Tell us how you're measuring the effectiveness of those partnerships. And so we're looking at all the resources that the agency has at its disposal. So it's about the people, it's about the partnerships, it is about money. How are you using your money effectively? And how are you even using your policymakers? So there are 10 essay questions in the National Gold Medal Award application, and each question has different value points associated with it. And so some of the questions, I won't go through all 10 of them, but a couple of the questions are asking, how do you measure, what are you measuring, and how are you measuring your performance? How do you communicate internally to your team members so that everyone is aware where the agency is going or where the system is going? How do you engage and enlist externally? How are you telling your policymakers about the impact that your agency is having on the community? We ask you to share examples of your creativity and innovation that impacts positively service delivery, customer satisfaction, staff engagement, any way you want to address how you feel your department is being creative and innovative. And we ask question 2 in support of the National Recreation Parks Association's pillars. There are 3 pillars. We ask about agencies' efforts in health and in health equity and health promotion. We ask questions what the agency is doing in the area of conservation, sustainability, environmental stewardship, particularly with an emphasis on climate change. And then we also ask questions about how the agency is dealing with access, equity, and inclusion. And so again, there's 10 essay questions. Once the agency has completed the essay questions, then we do ask that you upload information onto the Park Metric platform, which again is in support of the National Recreation and Park Association. And that information is helpful to our judges because it helps the judges get a bigger picture of the assets that the agency has available to it, the size of the community that it's serving, just exactly how large its budget is. So the Park Metric data is very important to for the judges to get an overall view of what the agency is all about. So we have 5 independent judges, and it was already mentioned that Jennifer Cirillo is one of our judges, gold medal judges, and they act independently. We have a very clear line of definition between responsibilities between what the gold medal judges do, what I do as the manager of the program, what our partners do. So we have very clear roles and responsibilities. So you apply for the gold medal. The judges review all of the applications. We have 5 population categories for agencies, ranging from under 25,000 to over 500,000. And then we also have, like I said, state park systems and armed forces installation programs. So the judges select 4 finalists in each of those categories. And then agencies are asked to submit a not to exceed 5-minute video that supports what you're telling us in your application. So that's another opportunity for you to visually tell your story about what it is that you're doing in your community. And then from that, then we do select the 6 grand plaque recipients, which are then announced and awarded at the National Recreation and Park Association in Dallas. So that's what the award is all about. That's kind of the process of what goes through in the National Gold Medal Award Program. And so if I was sitting in your shoes, I'd say, so, okay, Jane, that sounds really cool, whatever, yeah, it sounds like a lot of work to me, but whatever. So why should I do this, right? Why should I apply for a National Gold Medal Award Program? And so to tell that story, we're going to have, I'm going to ask Anne-Marie to show our new video, because these are comments from your peers who talk about the value of the National Gold Medal Award Program.
All right, let's see if we can make this work. It's a very large file. We tried it before the show and it was a little bit spotty, so please excuse us if that happens, but it is a fabulous video. Here we go.
When I think about the value of the Gold Medal Award, there are several benefits to a community. One of the main benefits would be it creates a source of pride for a community.
The Gold Medal program is a recognition of best practices, of excellence in the field of parks and recreation. And it's a testament to the commitment that park and recreation agencies, districts, departments, and professionals make to their communities every single day.
We provided great quality of service to our military and families, and we thought this would be a validation and to see how we stack up against other agencies.
And what it's meant for staff is it's been a huge morale boost. Parks, it's a tough job. We're working a lot of weekends. We see crowds of upwards of 8 million people. When we won our first gold medal, we had the Speaker of the House sitting there helping us hold it. Our staff got brought to the floor of the General Assembly. And this most recent time, I actually got a letter from the White House.
So the American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration is now the governing body for the National Gold Medal Award Program. And we partner with the National Recreation and Park Association, as well as our corporate sponsor, Musco Lighting, to present this National Award Program since 1965. Our team is fantastic, and they do a great job with what we have. They have really elevated our game from good to great, and I think that that should be celebrated and recognized for all of their hard work, and that's what the gold medal does. When my My agency won the gold medal when I was a young professional staff feel. And so now later in my career, I wanted to bring that same feeling to our young professionals today. And so there was just no doubt in my mind that we were going to apply and hopefully be successful at becoming a finalist or even receiving the gold medal, because it's just a sense of teamness, camaraderie, explain.
Actually, we learn a lot through the process because the questions are very detailed and pointed. And so we get to learn about things we might not have recognized for many, many years. I mean, we probably know and take it for granted what we have, and great programs, great quality facilities and so on. But the process itself allows you to kind of show that off. So when you do that detailed work, all of that comes out.
Talk about what you do, because the things you do in your community are going to be the things that selection committee is looking for. They're looking for unique. You don't have to have, $1 billion or $10 million. You have to do things that touch your community and show value. And if you do that, that's how you become one of the best of the best. Do what you can with what you have, and people will notice.
So you can view the video off the Academy website. So you can visit www.aapra.org, and the video is available right there on the homepage of the Academy's website. And show that video to your team and see if there might be some enthusiasm and some excitement about the program. As you see, the application is now available. And you can go onto the website, and we have lots of resources to help you. You can download and take a look at all of the application questions before you begin to enter your application. And we also have a question. We did a webinar last year, and we'll be doing another one this year. So the recording of the webinar is there. We have the judges criteria. This is really important. So it's like, what are the judges looking for in your response? And so we have that information available for you as well. So we opened the application period November 1st, and it will close March 3rd, 2023. So you have approximately 15 weeks. So I highly encourage you not to wait until 1 week before the application, because
Exactly.
you will not make it. You will not make it. But this, the gold medal application, even downloading the questions and taking a look at them with your team and talking about them with your team, all of a sudden, I think you will increase staff morale. You may saying, yeah, we are gold medal. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we're quality. Yeah, we can do this. And so I really, really encourage all of you to do that. And if we can answer any questions, you can reach out to us at goldmedal@aapra.org. And Jody and Anne-Marie, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share the National Gold Medal Award Program. And good job, everybody. And let's go have some fun. Let's go apply.
Thank you, Jane.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Jennifer, would you like to you don't have to, but would you like to make a comment? You've been in this as the agency, but the judge.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an honor to be part of the judges that participate in this process. I will say, until you're really involved as a judge, you don't know how much goes into this program. And I do want to encourage everybody to apply. Our agency, I saw the finalist plaques coming in today. We were a finalist 8 years over the course of our 50-year department. We've won twice, once in 1982 and once in 2018. So it's never a wrong time to get that application in. And I just want to support everything that Jane said. Once you kind of take it and download it and work as a team on it, it's really doable. And, it's inspiring to be a judge because I get to hear all the good news going on around the country. And so just please consider applying this year. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for those comments. And I'll just tell you, as a gold medal agency finalist and a recipient of a gold medal and being in that agency, when the director, my predecessor, brought it to me the first time, I can tell you right now, we were scared to death. And we thought, are we really are we really going for this? We were a small agency at the time. Well, I can just tell you, it made us so much better. And we unified as a team. So I would just encourage everyone. It's a great way to bring camaraderie and your team together and really look at your system too. So there's so many benefits from even the process. So anyway, Jane, thank you so much for making time to do this, because we need to get that word out. We've got to keep helping our departments get better.
Well, we certainly appreciate Playcore for allowing us the opportunity to present this program. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Anne Marie, I'm going to switch it over to you. Let's do some recognition.
Okay, let's do that, Jody. This is actually one of the most fun segments that we do, and it's where we give all of our teams the opportunity to talk a little bit about some folks in their team. So we are going to go ahead and do that. And Donnie, I think that yours is first. Let's see if we get to that next slide. Oops, I'm sorry. There we go. Tell us about Robin.
Yeah, so I mean, I was pretty excited already being a panelist. And then when you guys asked for someone that I wanted to recognize, I immediately was like, I know exactly who I'm recognizing. And that is without a doubt, Robin Dick. She's our number one admin here for our department. And you guys all know how it is, especially when we're talking about these types of partnerships and agreements and things like that. Our admins are the ones that really are making sure that those documents are funneled through the right processes. They're working extremely hard to make sure that we are on top of our game. And Robin is the best at that. We have a couple of values for the borough that are kind of under our mission. Number one is community. Number two is excellence. Number three is innovation. And Robin, she embodies those. She has been a community member for her whole entire life. She really loves this community. And so she's constantly thinking of ways of how she can innovate, how she can do her job better, how she can help others to do their job better, how she can communicate with the community. Like, Robin is stellar. I mean, I can't think of a better person to be able to spotlight in this moment, because our department really moves along at the pace that Robin helps to move it. And I mean, if you're talking about good news, Robin Dick is good news for the Fairbanks North Star Borough. And so thank you guys, because Robin deserves all the praise that we could possibly give her.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Robin, congratulations. I hope you're in our audience today, but she sounds like just one of those great teammates that we all like to have. So congratulations. All right, Jennifer, tell us about Jackie.
Yay, I'm so excited because she doesn't know this. She doesn't know this is happening. So I'm hoping she's
awesome.
but I actually heard she's at a partner meeting. So I'm not sure. We might have to show her the recording. But Jackie Lambert is a wonderful person. She's just a wonderful person. And just like Donnie said, Jackie's good news. When you meet her, you will wholeheartedly agree with that. So she has a therapeutic recreation background and started as an intern with our department, but was hired in 1995, sorry. So she's worked with us for 27 years. She manages our partnerships historically with Special Olympics of Florida. We have the home of Special Olympics is in our department for our entire county, and that's something that's really special, and Arts for All. Also serving people with disabilities with performing and visual arts. She's a great leader, though. She's a really great leader and a partner. She's our department wellness coordinator for our entire county with Cigna. She's our ADA program coordinator. So if we have a request for any kind of reasonable accommodation, it goes through Jackie and she makes it happen. Partnering with the local VA for adapted sports. But she currently just switched roles not long ago, and she's over our sports and wellness. So she took on that new challenge without hesitation. You can see her smile. She's activated for COVID in the top right picture. That was actually serving with the National Guard when testing was going on early on. She really is just a special person. And one of the other things I really appreciate about her is we have a cross department functional team countywide, where if your department serves on one of our county's 6 priorities, you need to be involved in a committee. And one of those priorities in Palm Beach County, and it may be true in a lot of communities around the country, is substance use and behavior disorders, and how important addressing that issue is in our community. And, you know, the first time Parks and Recreation showed up to the meeting, people were like, what are you doing here? Like, what? You don't have anything to do with this. And I think people just don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And so Jackie's been able to just navigate that so well, and to make people aware how important it is that we're in that conversation for substance use, misuse, behavior disorders, suicide awareness, just all the important things that Parks and Recreation does in that area. And I just want to shine a light on Jackie and the great work she's doing in our community. And it is good news. So thanks for allowing us to share.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, Chris, bring it home. Tell us about Kevin.
So Kevin Evans has been with his department for 32 years.
Wow.
I remember Kevin when my full-time career started with this agency in 1999. And so for me to come back and see that Kevin was still here and still as involved as he was when I was back with this department 20 years ago, it was just incredible news. He is always on point. He's always has a smile on his face. This particular picture that was taken was we were out cleaning up one of our many houseless campsites. And he is just literally a rock star. He knows where everything is. He knows the history of everything over the last 32 years. And if I have a question on anything or I can't find something, I just turn to him and he points me in the right direction. He is an MVP. Without him here, while we have a lot of talented staff, Kevin holds a lot of things together. We spend a lot of time together out in the field as he's showing me problems and situations, and we try to figure them out. But he's indispensable and invaluable to our organization.
That's awesome. That kind of longevity and tenure too. That's fantastic. He must love what he does, and what an asset for you guys. So congratulations on that. And thanks a lot, Kevin, for everything that you do out there for parks. Before we move on, and Jody, we might have time for a question. I wanted to share, we always like to share some examples that we hear from our audience as well. In that survey that you get after the show, there's always an opportunity to share. And so I thought this was just a great story for partnerships. It was between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and State Parks and the Amy Copeland Foundation. And these are all-terrain wheelchairs. Donnie, you might think they look like snow cats, right? They kind of have that all-terrain wheel that can get you around anywhere. And there's a lot of really cool trails in Georgia State Parks, but they're not really very wheelchair friendly. They're not very accessible and very difficult to really change that because it has a lot to do with the terrain layout. And so Amy Copeland is a woman, she has a foundation. She was a social worker who actually lost several parts of her limbs due to just a bacterial infection. And so she has made it her life's work to just increase access, especially in parks and for recreational purposes. So she has this foundation where they make these wheelchairs accessible. So they were debuted at the Lake Panola, I think it's pronounced, park on November 4th, and they are now available through 11 state parks throughout Georgia at no charge. You just have to make a reservation in advance so that you can make sure that there's one available for you when you get there. But you can see, I mean, just the joy of, I love this picture of the user on top there and just how happy to be able to get out and enjoy the beautiful fall leaves and everything. And so this is a program that is nationwide. So if this sounds like something, you may want to reach out to the Amy Copeland Foundation. But just a really, really cool partnership and program there that has increased access in those parks. And then just real quick, we have one more episode, the final episode of Good News in Parks on December 8th. It's called Eye on 2023 Goals and Aspirations. And we might talk a little bit about more what we're doing in 2023 as well. As always, you register at education.playcor.com, and we'll be putting previous episodes, including this one, on the youtube.com/Playcor News channel. So you can watch for those there. If you had colleagues that wanted to attend, but were not able to, we make all of the back episodes of the show available there. And with that, Jody, I want to turn it back to you. I think we do have time for one more question if you have one ready for us.
Yeah, I really do. This next show is going to be very exciting with our panelists that we have. AP Diaz from Seattle. We have Justin Cotten from City of Atlanta. And we also have Renee Johnson from City of Dallas, Parks and Rec. But this is for the panelists here. You know, you're looking towards, yeah, I mean, you're already down the road, but you're into 2023. What one or two aspects would you like to close out today and share with our audience that probably are really focused in for your staff and for your agency? And I think, Jennifer, we'll just start back in our rotation. Let's start with you. What do you see in 2023 that you see as a real focus right now?
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot for one. But no, it's exciting. So, I've been the director here for 5 weeks. I was the deputy for 12 years and I've been in the department 18 years. So for me, I think, you know, we've wanted to keep a lot of continuity because we've been in a really great department in a really great place. But it also opens us up for fresh eyes, right? And to really look at things in a new perspective and where we're going. So since I've been director for 5 weeks, we've had 2 hurricanes and 2 new commissioners now.
Oh my gosh.
I told Eric he left it at a great time. He picked a good time, but actually it's a lot of great opportunity, you know, for us. So I think really, our focus will be strategic in the year ahead. We have a strategic plan, but I think refreshing and renewing that, getting input from our stakeholders, going through that SWOT analysis. I mean, I think we're all commonly facing a lot of the similar challenges nationwide. For us, affordable housing here is incredibly challenging. That's our #1 priority. It's our #1 priority of our commission. Our employees, many of them can't afford to work and live here. I know there's other communities nationally that are going through that. Some are holding 2 and 3 jobs. So, you know, balancing their home life and their wellness with their work. So I think we're gonna approach you know, that care for our team moving forward in the year ahead, but also understanding the position we're in economically here and a need to diversify our funding streams so that we're not as relying on ad valorem funding. We're philosophically very low barrier to access here. We don't charge to get in any of our parks. We don't charge for parking at 12 of our 14 beach parks. Philosophically, we've been able to hold that line, but I think it's becoming a little more challenging. So I would say those would be our 2 focus areas to really make sure that we shore up, you know, the wellness of our department while also caring for our team moving forward in the new year.
Excellent. Excellent goals for going forward. Chris?
Yeah, so thank you. So we have about $200 million in deferred maintenance in our department. And the voters just recently approved $80 million in GO bonds for us to start working on those projects. So for me, it's getting a better handle on what our priorities are with our deferred maintenance. It's spread out all across our 221 parks, aquatic centers, and community centers. I was at a public meeting last night and basically let them know that we're not going to build a bunch of shiny new toys when we can't take care of what we got. So for me, so getting ahead of our deferred maintenance and getting a real handle on some of our budget issues. You know, we're almost entirely funded by sales tax. So, you know, we have a lot of commitments that aren't necessarily in the best interest of the department. And so we're trying to get a handle of those and see if we can bring some of those to a head, or if we can do some redirection on some of those. So, you know, we're severely understaffed right now. And so trying to get some of those positions, those vital positions filled to help us into 2023 and 2024 are at the top of the list.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, sometimes you have to really back up to go forward. And we all know that. And so anyway, great, Chris. Thank you. Donnie?
Oh man. Goal #1 for us, and I think Chris and Jennifer and probably most everybody that's on this call right now with us is in the same position. It's about staffing. We hurt. We want to provide as much as we possibly can, but this last summer, for example, we have a large seasonal staff. We were only able to fill 40% of our seasonal staff positions this last summer.
Wow.
And so we're constantly as a department asking ourselves, how do we fill those positions? How do we encourage additional folks? Where are the resources that might be able to adjust that? Do we start looking at contractual pieces? And so the biggest thing for us, our number one goal, we're already looking at our budget for FY24 and going back to the assembly, talking to our mayor, really is a heavy focus on how do we make adjustments that encourages recruitment, that provides a fairly decent living wage for the staff that we're asking to come, while at the same time providing those folks the flexibility to be able to live their lives, while at the same time enjoying the work that they're doing. Because a lot of staff are just not enjoying what they're doing right now because they're so overworked. Our overtime numbers are through the roof. And so we have to get that under control, but we need help. And so our number one goal is really reaching out to our partners, to our mayor, to our assembly, and saying, how do we really make these adjustments to affect a good, positive change in our department? Our second goal, oh, sorry,
keep
go
going.
ahead, yeah.
Please.
Our second goal is how do we help the community to be able to access our facilities? A lot of our facilities do not meet, like our playgrounds do not meet ADA accessibility the way that they need to. So we've created a program, a Park a Year program, where we actually go through and adjust all of the issues with that specific park once a year. But we have 25 playgrounds. So that would take us 25 years to be able to reach the goals that we have for that accessibility of those playgrounds. And so that's goal number 2, is really trying to make it so that these facilities are accessible for everyone. And it's a huge one, but it's definitely a priority for us moving forward.
You've already, some of you've talked about this. This living situation is real. This situation of being able to work in your community and live in your community is very real. We live it here. I used to live in Missouri. We had some of that issue. Now I live in Montana. It's totally out of control almost as far as housing and opportunities to live. So it is a real juggling act for the balance of payment, of making sure that we're really fair to our employees, but also can we help them with housing and actually give them direction and help on this. I'm hearing this from all over the country. It is unbelievable that we are talking about this of all things in our field right now. But this is a real issue that needs to be addressed long-term. And I really appreciate you all being so candid about it, because it is definitely an issue. Sorry,
I was just going to say that, the other half to that is because of this inflation, Chris just got $80 million, but that's because of inflation. That $80 million is not going to go as far as it did 4 years ago. We're finding that, when we're bidding out any projects, we are seeing those costs, just through the roof. A bathroom that would have cost us, $800,000 is about 1.5 for us nowadays. And so that those costs also directly affect our staff as well, because it's harder and harder for us to find contractors. So we're having to deal with the maintenance issues on our own more often. And so there's a whole spiral of things that are going on.
And Donnie, I think that's a great point that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with our partnerships and what type of agreements do we use and stuff like that. We have to be smarter about that and build flexibility into those partnership agreements, because they may or may not be able to follow through on what it is we were whatever our agreement with them is. And we need to build in some flexibility that allows us both to adjust along the way with permissions, because the reality is things are changing very rapidly for all of us, and we really don't know what next year is going to bring. So that's an important point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anne Marie, I've gotten a question. Where can they find, you mentioned this earlier, where can they find the recording of this show? Because they want to share with their staff. Can you please give that one more time?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and then search for the channel is Playcore News, all one word, just like it sounds.
Excellent.
Put all the videos there. It sometimes takes a week to get them up there because we want to process them and cut out all the noise and that kind of a thing. But eventually they will all be up there. So if you want to, mid next week or so, this should be posted there with all the other ones. There's a lot of great content there. We've been doing the show for 3 years, and there's just a lot of great and motivating content there with so many of the wonderful Park and Rec directors and guests that we've had throughout the years. So yes, that's what
Colleagues, I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that was it.
Okay. Colleagues, I just want to thank you from the heart. We needed you to step up and do this show. You wouldn't believe how many people we've helped. So they may be reaching out to you. But again, thank you, our friends. Thank you so much. And Anne Marie, great job. Thank you again for hosting.
Great. Awesome. Thank you all so much. And we will see you next month. Don't forget to register. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
See you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.